Hello everyone, thank you very much for clicking on my video where I'll be previewing the Australian GP and giving my predictions. So the Australian GP is a fantastic track and I really enjoy it. There's been a number of changes this year as well which should make it even more interesting. So as always, the track will be over a period of 58 laps and the track distance actually is changing this year from 5.3 kilometers to 5.278 kilometers. And this is because of various changes, which includes removing certain chicanes and adding longer straight sections. So what's going to be quite interesting about this track is there's going to be a fourth DRS zone. So this will be a kink towards the left before entering turn 9. So Charles Leclerc and other drivers have said this will make the track so much quicker than previously, and it should be quite an exciting one. The removal of the turn 9 to 10 chicane should also be even more interesting. Previously, this chicane has slowed down the racing, so its removal should make the race even more competitive and enable even more overtakes. Previously, the Australian GP has been criticised in the past, and this is because it doesn't provide too many overtaking opportunities. However, the widening of many corners, as well as the more DRS sections, should make it quite entertaining. The 2022 breed of cars should be very good around this track, and I'm excited to see how it all turns out. So, now we should go to my rankings. So I'm going to go down the list from P1 to P20 and rank where I think each driver will finish. I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please give this video a like and please give me a subscribe. Depending on how I do in these videos, I will continue to produce more or not. P20, I've put Nicolas Latifi. I've put Latifi here because I just don't back him that much this season. As I put him here in my overall predictions, I don't think much is going to change. I think Nicolas Latifi is struggling for pace in this Williams, and I don't see him improving anytime soon. I certainly don't see him improving on his teammate. I think Latifi really needs to impress before he gets kicked out of the team at the end of the season. P19, I've put Alex Albon. Alex is also driving in the Williams, and I just don't see it being a competitive car. This Australia GP is all about straight line speed, and I think the Williams is struggling most in this aspect. I don't think Alex will do much better than P19, but it will certainly beat his teammate. P18, I've put Zhou Guanyu. So I've put him here because I think he's going to struggle compared to some of the other Formula One veterans, as we call them. There's a lot of other drivers with more experience around the Australian GP too, which I think Zhou Guanyu is really going to be missing out on. Even though I think his Alfa Romeo is going to be quite competitive with its really fast Ferrari engine, I think other drivers will just outqualify him, and I think he'll struggle to get up the field in the actual race. He could prove me wrong, as this Alfa Romeo is a competitive car, but with his lack of experience, I struggle to put him any higher. P17, Lance Stroll. I think Lance is a good driver, and now he's had two races of experience. I think he's going to do better than previously. I think the Aston Martin team is one which is very capable of upgrading its car, and I'm sure there'll be some improvements, especially reducing the downforce to improve the straight line speed. I think he will definitely do a bit better in qualifying than in the previous few races, and I think he'll finish higher up in the grid as a result. P16. I'm predicting this will be a tricky race for Yuki. He obviously didn't get to race in Saudi Arabia due to issues with the car, but I think here it's going to continue to affect his development of the season. I think the AlphaTauri is quite a quick car, but I'm not sure about its straight line pace. It all depends how the car's been configured for the race, and if they can get anything similar to Saudi Arabia, there is potential. But due to the lack of Yuki's experience on the Saudi Arabia track, where there was a lot of potential to practice for Australia, I think he might struggle and qualify poorly. I think the overtaking will be fairly difficult in the race, and that's why I think he'll finish in P16. P15, I've put Sebastian Vettel. So this race will be Sebastian Vettel's first race of the year due to him missing the previous two due to COVID. I think he's going to outqualify Lance Stroll. He's more experienced than Lance Stroll, and he's a four-time World Drivers' Championship champion. So I really back him. I think that Aston Martin, it can only do so well in this race, and I think Sebastian Vettel is going to extract all the performance possible. It's a track he's typically done well at, and I think once Seb's back, he'll quickly get up to the pace. P14, I've put Mick Schumacher. So Mick is a good driver, and I think he's learning a lot under the partnership of Kevin Magnussen. I think although he's been driving well recently, I don't see him getting into the points for the next couple of races. He still needs to sort of get comfortable in the car and start maximising its potential. I think he's going to struggle a little bit due to other cars getting more competitive, and this track requires a lot of skill to perfectly get onto the straights with maximum speed. I think as Mick is still getting used to the new car, I think he might struggle slightly, so we'll have to see. But I've put him in P14 for these reasons. P13, I've put Fernando Alonso. So as we all know, Fernando will be on his third power unit of the year, which certainly implies there's something going wrong with the car. I think he could be at risk of a total engine failure, so hopefully that doesn't happen. The Alpine power unit does seem quite suspect at the moment, so we'll have to see how it does. I back Ocon to beat Alonso though. Ocon's been on some good form, and following P1, FP1, Ocon seems more comfortable in the car than Alonso. We'll have to see how Alonso performs, but at the moment I think he's going to finish in P13. P12 then is Pierre Gasly. So everyone knows by now Pierre is a fantastic driver. He's absolutely taking the AlphaTauri to the limits of its capabilities, and I think once again he's going to do the same. So the Australia GP isn't all about skill, which we know Pierre Gasly has tons of. It's about the straight line speed. I think even though the AlphaTauri has proven itself to be a good car so far, I think he's going to struggle compared to some of the other cars with good engines and good low downforce and high speed setups. I think Pierre could do better in the race, but I think his qualifying might limit him somewhat. I've put him in P12 for this reason. P11, I've put the honey badger himself, Daniel Ricciardo. I think Ricciardo is going to have a good race and an improvement on the races so far. Him being back in Australia will surely add to his confidence and make him try to outperform the car. I think he's going to do very well. I think the McLaren are going to take a step forward, but I don't think he'll quite get into the points. I think the straight line speed on the Mercedes engine will be better than everyone thinks, and I think that in this particular track, I think McLaren will show its true skill. P10, I've put Lando Norris. After Lando Norris had such a great display in Saudi Arabia, I think he's going to transfer this form to the Australia GP. I think other cars won't be having to DNF, so I think there will be further cars ahead of Lando Norris, hence the lower finish. But I think McLaren are going to have a better weekend overall. I'm sure they're going to qualify higher and finish higher overall. Lando Norris is also a driver with more confidence than Daniel Ricciardo, so I think he will finish ahead of him, but time will tell. Qualifying will be an interesting one. I reckon which McLaren driver finishes higher in qualifying will dictate who finishes higher in the actual race, but I back Lando in both respects. P9 then is Kevin Magnussen. So Kevin's been having a fantastic season overall, and I've been really impressed by some of the performances he's been able to get out the bag. So Kevin has typically done quite well at the Australia GP, and so have Haas in general, I guess. There has been that year where both Haas's didn't finish and had pit disasters, you could say. But I think those days are well behind them. I think Kevin Magnussen's going to be confident in this weekend, and I think if he properly gets over this illness that he's apparently had, then he's going to qualify very highly. I think Kevin Magnussen is good around Australia, and I think this track will be no different, even with the changes. I think he'll get some overtakes in the race if he qualifies poorly, but I back him. P8, Valtteri Bottas. So Valtteri is the driver who won this track last time we're here, and he's obviously got enough skill around the track. I've predicted he's going to qualify quite highly above Guanyu, and that's just because he's got a lot of skill, and I think the Alfa Romeo is a quality car which has a lot of speed. I think Valtteri Bottas is someone who can really manipulate the car to make it perfectly fit the track, and I think he's going to perform well here. He's done well recently, and he's qualified an average over both the Mercedes drivers, and I think once again he's going to do a good performance, but maybe slightly poorer than the previous few races. And that's because I back both Mercedes drivers to be up there, as well as the Ferraris and Red Bulls. I think now they've had some of the performance issues due to reliability, such as Red Bull in the first race. I think they've got over this hurdle, so I think they're all going to qualify and finish So I think that's going to bring certain drivers down in general performance. P7 is Esteban Ocon. So I think Ocon's been looking like he's in good form at the moment. He's been driving well, he's been driving consistently, and he's making really few errors. So I back him to get P7. I think the Alpine is going to do okay here. I think he's got a good setup, and I think they're going to be quick. P6, I've put George Russell. And this is the kind of place where Mercedes belong in P5 and P6. But I think Lewis Hamilton will out-qualify and outrace George Russell. George is obviously still getting settled in the team, and after beating Lewis in the previous race in Saudi Arabia, I think Lewis will be back to his former self and get a quality result that we all expect. But due to the Mercedes limitations, I don't see him finishing above P6. So, P5 will be Lewis Hamilton in my opinion. I think he'll be driving the Mercedes to the limit, and I think this is what he'll be happy with achieving this race. Mercedes' big upgrades haven't come yet, but there have been slight improvements, so I think, as normal, Mercedes will do the right thing and be improving in a small aspect to the other cars. P4, I've actually put Charles Leclerc. Now, I think this will be a controversial one. There's a lot of people expecting Charles to finish in the podium at least, if not P2, P1. But I think Charles might struggle around this track. I think Carlos Sainz has previously done well at Australia, and Charles has only been at Australia a couple times in his career. I think that Ferrari is going to be less competitive compared to the Red Bull due to the straight line speed that is required. The Red Bull has previously looked a bit quicker, and in the speed traps in Saudi Arabia, the Red Bull was typically 9 miles per hour quicker on each lap. So I think Charles will struggle just compared to the Red Bulls here. P3 on the podium, I've put Carlos Sainz. So Carlos has a lot of experience at Australia. He's quick here, and he's getting more familiar and used to the Ferrari. I think this is the weekend he'll fully get comfortable, and I think he'll qualify and race very well. P2, Sergio Perez. After Sergio's fantastic performance at Saudi Arabia, I honestly back him to do well again. I think even though he might not get pole this weekend in qualifying, I think he'll finish in P2. The Red Bull has a lot of pace, and I think that's what is needed on this track. I think Sergio definitely is getting more comfortable in the car, and he's more suited to the car than he was last year. I think it will be quite a battle between him and Verstappen, especially in the race. The car's got a lot of straight line speed, and with the additional benefit of DRS in P2, I think it's going to be quite competitive, and there will be overtaking between him and Verstappen. So, in P1, I have put Verstappen. I think Verstappen's a quality race driver. Even if he doesn't qualify above Sergio, I think in the race, his performance will just outshine Sergio. He's good at overtaking, and Red Bull are always going to support Max Verstappen to do as well in the championship as he can do. So, I think he might be allowed to race Sergio. And there will be overtaking due to all the DRS, but I back Verstappen to get ahead and stay there. So, I think this will be a very competitive race. I think it will be very exciting for all of the fans, and I think there will be more overtaking than in previous years. I think Red Bull will be on top this race just to their better straight line performance. It will be interesting to see how this goes, but I don't expect Charles Leclerc to get on the podium, which is my controversial take. I think there'll be fewer performance-related issues this week, and I think there'll be fewer drivers not finishing the race. As we get further through the season, the teams are getting more familiar with the cars, they're able to read the data even more, and they're going to ensure that every car finishes. So yeah, what do you think of my predictions? If you like these predictions, please give me a like and a subscribe. Depending on how you perceive these videos, I'll decide whether to keep doing them or not. But I appreciate you all for being here. I know my channel's small, but in the future I hope to further expand it and produce more F1 videos and related content. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Goodbye, guys.